Welcome, Annie Collins here for Imagine Crafts. Today we were creating a Happy Thanksgiving card. Let's go over some of the products I use. Stamp Panda's Fall Season Stamp Set. We'll be using the Thanksgiving sentiment right here and 3 of the leaves. This small one here, this one, and this large one here. Imagine Crafts Tarot Tape, and a variety of inks from VersaMagic and Brilliance. We have VersaMagic in Pumpkin Spice, Brilliance and Rocket Red Gold. We have VersaMagic in Gingerbread, Brilliance and Coffee. VersaMagic in Tea Leaves, VersaMagic in Sage. VersaMagic and Red Magic, Brilliance and Crimson Copper. VersaMagic in Turquoise Gem, Brilliance and Pearlescent Blue Sky. We'll also be bringing in a teeny bit of Brilliance and Lightning Black. And StazOn Metallic Copper Ink. Imagine Crafts Embossing Powder in Clear. A little bit of, I'll be using some StazOn cleaner, multi-purpose cleaner to clean my stamps. And we'll be creating an A2 top folding landscape card. So I have a heavyweight card base, some layering cardstock in brown, and layering pattern paper in plaid from die cuts from Review. Fishtail banner for my sentiment in cream. Part of our sentiment, which is this happy, I die cut from pearlescent copper paper and twice from brown cardstock, and I adhered them all together with our Imagine Crafts On Point glue. So I created a nice little chipboard piece. A decorative banner, some copper brown jellies from Queen & Company, another fishtail banner in brown, a wood veneer leaf, and I went ahead and stamped some of our leaves beforehand. So I'm going to place them here on top of my card base so you can see them. This first leaf I used VersaMagic in red and crimson copper. The green one is the tea leaves and sage, and the blue one is turquoise gem and pearlescent sky blue. Alright, so let me clear all this so we can get started on our project. I'll be bringing in my stamping platform, and just so you know, my platform is bigger than my screen area. So I'll be shifting it around a bit. I have a piece of the same cream cardstock that I used for my sentiment banner on my platform base. I'm going to get a piece of white cardstock here to place underneath so you can see what I'm doing, because my stamp platform lid is clear and I have my leaves already on here. So for our first leaf, which is the big maple leaf, we're going to be using Pumpkin Spice and Rocket Red Gold, which is a Brilliance color. All these leaves I created with one on VersaMagic and half VersaMagic and half Brilliance, because the Brilliance is a nice shimmery color ink, and so you have this softer, creamy from the VersaMagic, which is a chalk-based ink, has a chalky finish, and so now you have a chalky finish and a beautiful color shimmer. What I was showing you there is if you don't like to use your ink directly onto your stamp, but you feel uncomfortable with that, you can use a sponge dauber so to place your ink onto your stamp. So for our last leaf here, we use sage and tea leaves, both of VersaMagic. But here's where we brought in the Brilliance and the lightning black, because it has a nice hint of green through it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. I'm going to be slightly off screen for a minute, but I'll show you here in a second. Moving it up so you can see. And now I'll bring it up so you can see again. And you can see that I need a little more blending. So especially on my red leaf here and the green one. So I'm going to put a little more of the pumpkin spice onto our leaf. And then on the green one, I'm going to add a little bit more of the sage. Then I'll stamp it again. Oh, did you see that? Runaway dauber. It's like the tumbleweed of my desk. Okay, so here we are. Here are our leaves all blended perfectly. So you can see you can just blend directly onto your stamps. I'm going to use some StazOn multi-purpose cleaner to clean my stamps. So I'll let these set for a second and then I'll fussy cut them out. Let's work on our sentiment. I have my fishtail banner here and I'm going to put some repositionable double-sided tape here, and I'm going to bring in my sentiment, get it the placement, and pick it up with my acrylic block. And for our sentiment, we'll be using the StazOn Metallic Copper. Now, if you've never used any of the metallic or StazOn colors, the ink pad comes dry and you have to place the ink onto it. Then you use this little squeegee that comes with it and you just, smear it in, blend it in. Now, don't over ink like I did, and give it some time to soak in. And always keep your plastic cover. It'll keep your ink nice and moist so you don't have to re-ink it as often. All right, so now I'm stamping our sentiment onto our banner. And it takes a while to dry, so I'm going to set it to the side to dry. You can heat set it, but I'm just going to set it to the side because I want to move on to our next portion of our card. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here. I was getting rid of my tape. And we're going to bring in that little wooden leaf. I'm going to color it and seal it. I'm going to color it with the same StazOn ink because the StazOn ink is a multi-surface ink. So it can go on wood, plastic, paper, and glass. All right, so now I'm just going direct to the ink pad and I'm just pushing it in. I'm going to grab my tweezers so I can pull the little leaf out. Make sure I get nice coverage on there. I'm going to place it on my coffee filter, putting my plastic back on and then my lid. So to seal this, because I don't want to wait for it to dry, I'm going to put some clear embossing powder on top of it. So I'm using Magic Crafts clear embossing powder and putting a nice thick layer on it because I want it to bubble up and give me some texture. So the more you put on, the more bubbly. Did you see that? Did you just see what I did? Ugh. I just spilled that embossing powder. It's a shame. Really is. Okay, back to the card. I can't. I'm going to heat now our little veneer leaf. I always heat from the bottom first so that I don't have any stray embossing powder flying off. Then I'll heat out from the top until all the embossing powder is completely melted. It goes from like a matte finish to a glossy finish. That's when you know it's completely melted. So there it is in all its beauty. It's beautifully shiny from the metallic color of the ink and in that beautiful shine as well from the embossing powder. And now it perfectly matches my chipboard sentiment. All right, now let's go ahead and start fussy cutting our leaves. I fussy cut most of them off camera to save you the tedious watching of fussy cutting. And I'm going to finish them off here so that we can then start creating our card. I'm using nice sharp scissors, keeping my scissors straight and just turning my paper. That makes for a nice smooth cut. All right, so let's start with our card base first. I have a heavyweight white card base. And it's landscape top folding, and I already went ahead and adhered my tear it tape to the back of my layering brown cardstock. I'm going to remove all the backing and place it onto my card base. It's the same size as my card base, so it'll be easy to line it up and adhere it down. Now I'm going to adhere my layering pattern paper. Now this is thinner paper, so I'm afraid of it tearing if I don't get it on straight. So what I do is I only remove a portion of the adhesive backing. Once I get a center, I push down on the corners of the adhesive adhesive is exposed, and then I remove the rest of the backing. So now my layering paper is nice and centered. I'm going to bring in my on-point glue to adhere our leaves to our card. I'm going to work a little bit on my placement here, decide what I want to do, move things around. Now, do you see that? Yep, that sentiment is on a different banner. You know how I said it takes a little while to dry that ink, the StazOn ink? And I said leave it, set it to the side. Well, I smudged it, so I had to start over and get a new one. It's okay. So now we're going to add here our brown sentiment banner and which is the cardstock banner, and our decorative banner to our sentiment banner, which I added a little bit of thin foam adhesive to. I added a little bit more tear tape also so that it can stay in place. Now I'm going to adhere my chipboard happy that we created with a little bit of on-point glue. Although on-point glue dries clear, which is great, I don't want a lot of it oozing out on my project. So I'm just putting little dots of it onto the back of our chipboard sentiment here. I'm going to use my tweezers to help me place it so I don't get glue on my hands. So I'm sorry if my hands are covering, but I want to make sure the lower part of my Y is between the N and the G in Thanksgiving. Now I'm going to start placing my leaves. I will cut some of my stems, or most of my stems, off my leaves to get them in where I want them. I'm just tucking them just under my sentiment. The good thing about using the on-point glue is that it stays wet for a few minutes, or a few seconds I should say, and for a few seconds that gives you enough time to move things around. So I know I want my chipboard leaf on top there with my sentiment. So I'm just going to keep moving these around until I get the arrangement I like. Put a little more glue, make sure it stays in place. Now I'm going to put this brown oak leaf up here along with this other smaller leaf. And I have the red one up towards the bottom, the big red maple. Now I want to put this little green one down here to hide that bottom fishtail of the brown cardstock. Okay, so now that leaf didn't make it, I'll make it to another card. Now we're going to adhere our chipboard, a wood veneer leaf, using some on-point glue on the back of it and pressing it right next to our sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Queen & Company Copper Brown Jelly Gems. You could leave your card as here without the jelly gems or any other embellishments, but I wanted to bring in another bit of brown to the card. So I start my triangle of threes. I have one, but then I decide to add a few more towards the bottom here, 2 more. And now our card is finished. All that's left is to fill it out and send it off to a family member or a friend. So there you can see all the shimmer and shine from the metallic StazOn ink. It's metallic copper. We used the metallic copper on our leaf along with the embossing powder, so it has a nice texture to it. Our blending on our leaves, which gives us perfect fall leaves. So once again, let's go over some of the products we used today to create this card. We used the we used the Stamp Pandas Fall Seasons stamp set. We used the sentiment and the leaves. We used Imagine Crafts tear tape. We use Imagine Crafts on point glue, Imagine Crafts embossing powder in clear, StazOn ink in metallic copper, and a variety of VersaMagic and Brilliance inks. And I'll have some jelly gems from Queen & Company. And I will have the full list of all the items I used in the description box below, as I know there's a lot of inks here. So, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you found some inspiration, and I hope you can try this technique of ink blending directly onto your stamps. Please remember to subscribe and thumbs up our videos so you can keep seeing wonderful inspirational projects from our design team.